the world of New York's high society is about to become even more dangerous, because the power games are far from over. After the dramatic events of Season 3, fans of the Gilded Age are now asking one big question. What happens next? The struggle for influence, status, and control has only just begun, and Season 4 could push every character into even riskier decisions. Old alliances are shaking, new rivalries are forming, and some relationships may never recover from the choices that were made. And now, with early talks about a new season already circulating, the anticipation for the Gilded Age Season 4 is growing stronger than ever. So what can we realistically expect from the next chapter of this powerful period drama? Let's take a closer look at where the story might go next, and when the long-awaited return could finally arrive. By the end of Season 3, the social battlefield of New York had completely changed. For years, the old elite families believed they controlled everything. Their traditions, their rules, and their influence shaped every important decision in society. But the rise of the Russell family slowly began to challenge that control. Bertha Russell, in particular, proved she was willing to do whatever it takes to secure her place at the very top of high society. Her victory in the Opera War and her growing influence among the city's most powerful people showed that the new money families were no longer outsiders. They were now part of the system. But this victory did not come without consequences. The decisions Bertha made to protect her family and expand her social power created tensions inside her own household. Her husband George Russell, one of the most powerful businessmen in the country, has always supported her ambitions. Yet even the strongest marriages can begin to crack when personal choices start affecting the entire family. Season 4 could explore this tension in much greater detail. George Russell is a man who built his empire through strategy, patience, and calculated risks. But when it comes to his family, emotions sometimes take control. Some of Bertha's decisions, especially those involving their daughter's future, may have pushed George into a difficult position. A father wants his children to be happy, but a powerful family must also think about reputation and alliances. This conflict between personal happiness and social ambition may become one of the most important themes in the next season. At the same time, the world around them is changing quickly. The late 19th century was a time when industry, wealth, and influence were transforming the United States. Railroads, steel, and new business empires were creating fortunes almost overnight. George Russell stands at the center of that economic revolution. But power in business does not always guarantee power in society. The old families still hold deep connections, traditions, and influence that money alone cannot easily replace. This means the battle between old money and new money is far from finished. In fact, Season 4 could make that conflict even more intense. Some members of New York's traditional elite may start looking for ways to weaken the Russells' position. Others may secretly accept that the future belongs to these rising industrial families and begin forming new alliances. The social chess game that defines this series will likely become even more strategic and unpredictable. Meanwhile, Marion Brooks' journey is also expected to move into a new phase. From the very beginning, Marion has stood between two different worlds. On one side, she is connected to the respected traditions of her old money relatives. On the other, she has shown sympathy for the modern ideas and ambitions represented by the Russells. This unique position allows her to see both sides of the social divide. In Season 4, Marion may face important decisions about her own independence and future. The experiences she went through during the previous seasons have already changed her. She is no longer the uncertain young woman who first arrived in New York. Instead, she has grown more confident and more aware of how complicated society can be. Her relationships, her personal goals, and her place in this rapidly evolving world could all become major parts of the story moving forward. Another storyline that could gain even more attention involves Peggy Scott. Peggy's character represents a different, but equally important perspective on this era. As a talented writer and a determined woman seeking recognition in a society filled with barriers, Peggy's journey reflects the broader struggles happening across America during this period. Her career ambitions and personal relationships may open the door for deeper storytelling about the changing cultural and social landscape of the time. All of these storylines suggest that Season 4 will not simply continue the drama, it will raise the stakes even higher. Power, loyalty, ambition, and reputation are constantly colliding in this world, and every decision has consequences. As the Russells strengthen their influence and the old elite fight to protect their legacy, the next chapter of the Gilded Age could become the most intense and unpredictable yet. And with so many unfinished tensions still hanging in the air, the question now becomes even more exciting. What major twists are waiting for the characters when the story continues? As the story moves forward, the biggest tension in season May 4th not come from society's rival families, but from the conflicts growing inside the Russell household itself. Bertha Russell has spent years building her reputation step by step, carefully entering circles that once rejected her. She understands that power in New York society is not given easily. It has to be earned, negotiated, and sometimes forced through bold decisions. But the same determination that helped her rise may now start creating distance between her and the people closest to her. George Russell has always respected his wife's ambition. In many ways, her strength and confidence were part of the reason he admired her from the beginning. Yet even the most supportive partner can begin to question how far ambition should go. When social victories begin affecting family relationships, the line between success and sacrifice becomes harder to ignore. Season 4 could explore how George starts reevaluating the balance between business power, social influence, and the emotional stability of his own family. The Russell children may also face important turning points. Growing up in one of the richest families in America brings privileges, but it also brings expectations. Their lives are constantly watched by the public, judged by society, and influenced by the decisions their parents make. In the coming season, these expectations could push them into difficult choices about their personal futures. Whether it involves marriage, loyalty, or independence, their actions may have consequences that reach far beyond their own happiness. At the same time, the older generation of New York's elite families will likely refuse to accept the changing power structure quietly. For decades, the old aristocratic households controlled the most respected social institutions in the city. They believed their heritage alone guaranteed their place at the top. But the rise of industrial fortunes like the Russells threatens that tradition. Season May 4th shows some of these powerful families quietly organizing strategies to regain influence and limit the impact of the new money class. This could lead to a much more strategic social conflict. Instead of open rivalries, the next season may focus on subtle political moves inside elite gatherings, charity organizations, and cultural institutions. Invitations, alliances, and reputations can become powerful tools in this silent battle. A single event, a carefully arranged partnership, or even a well-timed rumor could shift the balance of power between families. Marion Brooks' position within this complicated environment will likely become even more significant. Because she has connections to both sides of society, she often finds herself observing tensions that others ignore. Her understanding of people and her growing confidence may allow her to play a larger role in shaping certain outcomes. Rather than simply reacting to the events around her, Marion could begin influencing them in unexpected ways. Another important storyline that could expand in Season 4 is Peggy Scott's professional journey. Peggy has already proven that she has both the talent and determination to succeed as a writer. However, the world she is trying to enter is not always ready to accept voices that challenge the established order. As she continues pursuing her career, Peggy may face obstacles that test her patience, her courage, and her belief in the power of her own work. Her story also highlights a broader reality of the era. The Gilded Age was not only about wealth and luxury. It was also a time of social transformation, cultural change, and growing debates about equality and opportunity. Through Peggy's experiences, the series often reveals these deeper layers of history. Season 4 could continue exploring these themes while keeping the personal drama just as compelling. Meanwhile, several relationships across New York society remain uncertain. Some couples appear stronger after the events of Season 3, while others are still struggling with misunderstandings, secrets, and expectations placed upon them by family and tradition. In a world where marriages often serve social and financial purposes, love itself sometimes becomes the most complicated factor of all. Season 4 could push many of these relationships into new territory. Some characters may attempt to rebuild trust after past conflicts, while others might realize that certain connections cannot survive the pressures of ambition and reputation. As alliances shift and loyalties are tested, emotional decisions could influence the direction of the entire social landscape. All of this suggests that the next season will not simply focus on one central conflict. Instead, it may weave together multiple personal and political struggles that gradually build toward a larger turning point for New York's elite society. The quiet competition between tradition and progress, between old money and new power will continue shaping every major decision the characters make. And while these tensions continue growing behind the closed doors of mansions and ballrooms, fans are also eager to know something equally important. When will the next chapter finally arrive? Season 4's potential release timeline may give us the clearest clue yet about when we will return to this fascinating world of ambition and influence. With so many storylines left open, the biggest question now is when fans will finally return to the world of the Gilded Age. The series, created by Julian Fellowes, has followed a pattern that reflects both the complexity of production and the scale of the show itself. Large historical sets, detailed costumes, and a massive cast mean that each season requires a long development and filming process. The first season premiered in January 2022 and quickly attracted attention for its detailed portrayal of New York during the late 19th century. The second season arrived in October 2023, continuing the story as the battle between traditional elite families and rising industrial fortunes intensified. Season 3 followed later, expanding the conflicts between powerful households and pushing several characters into unexpected situations that dramatically changed the balance of power. Because of the scale of production, the time between seasons has not always been short. Historical dramas like this require careful planning, especially when recreating a period known for its architecture, fashion, and social traditions. Every location, costume, and dialogue detail needs to match the era accurately, which naturally extends production timelines. However, the good news for fans is that the series has continued to maintain strong interest from viewers and critics. The rich storytelling, the complex characters, and the constant tension between tradition and ambition have helped the show build a loyal audience. When a series manages to keep this level of engagement, networks usually look closely at continuing the story. If production follows a similar timeline to previous seasons, Season 4 could realistically arrive sometime in late 2026. This estimate comes from observing the gaps between earlier seasons and the amount of work required for filming and post-production. While this is not an officially confirmed release date, it fits the pattern the show has followed so far. As for the first official look or trailer, those typically appear several months before a new season premieres. If Season 4 is targeting a late 2026 release window, early teasers or promotional material could begin appearing earlier that same year. Networks often release short previews first, followed by a full trailer once the premiere date becomes closer. When that first trailer finally arrives, it will likely focus on the growing tensions that Season 3 left behind. The Russell family's rising influence, the reactions of the old New York elite, and the uncertain futures of several important relationships will probably take center stage. Even a short teaser could reveal subtle hints about which alliances survive and which conflicts grow even stronger. Another interesting possibility for Season 4 is the expansion of the social world beyond the familiar rivalries we have already seen. The historical Gilded Age was a period when American cities were expanding quickly and powerful families were constantly forming new networks across business, politics, and culture. Introducing new characters or rival families could add fresh pressure to the already fragile balance between the established elite and the ambitious newcomers. This expansion could also raise the stakes for characters who have already fought hard to secure their place in society. Once power is achieved, the real challenge becomes protecting it. For families like the Russells, maintaining influence may prove even more difficult than gaining it in the first place. Every alliance must be protected, every reputation carefully managed, and every public appearance strategically planned. At the same time, the more personal stories remain just as important. Characters like Marion Brooke and Peggy Scott continue to represent individuals trying to build their own paths within a society filled with expectations and limitations. Their journeys remind viewers that behind the grand mansions and elegant parties, every character is still navigating personal hopes, fears, and difficult decisions. All of these elements suggest that Season 4 has the potential to become one of the most important chapters of the series so far. The conflicts introduced in earlier seasons are reaching a point where major changes could happen. Some characters may rise higher than ever before, while others could see their influence begin to fade. Until the official confirmation and trailer finally arrive, fans can only analyze the clues left by the previous seasons and imagine where the story might go next. But one thing already seems certain. When the next chapter of the Gilded Age returns, the battle for power, reputation, and legacy in New York society will be more intense than ever. While fans are waiting for the official trailer and confirmation, another question continues to spark discussion. What direction will the story truly take in Season 4? The world of the Gilded Age has always been built around one central idea. Power in society is never permanent. No matter how strong a family appears, one mistake, one scandal, or one unexpected alliance can completely change their position. For Bertha Russell, the coming season could become the ultimate test of everything she has worked for. She has spent years pushing her way into circles that once rejected her completely. Through determination, strategy, and sometimes ruthless decisions, she managed to place the Russell family at the center of New York's most powerful social gatherings. But reaching the top is only half the battle. Staying there can be even more difficult. Season May 4th explore how Bertha begins protecting her influence against new threats. Some members of the traditional elite may finally realize that ignoring the Russells is no longer possible. Instead of resisting openly, they may begin forming careful alliances or strategic friendships designed to limit Bertha's control. In a society where reputation is everything, even small social shifts can have massive consequences. George Russell could also face new challenges beyond the social world. His business empire, built largely on the railroad industry, places him among the most powerful industrialists of his time. But the late 19th century was also a period filled with economic risks, competition, and political pressure. As industrial power expanded across America, wealthy businessmen often faced opposition from rivals, government regulations, and public criticism. Because of this, Season 4 might introduce conflicts that stretch beyond New York's drawing rooms and ballrooms. George's decisions in business could directly affect the stability of the Russell family's social standing. If his empire faces threats or major financial challenges, Bertha's carefully constructed reputation could also be placed at risk. At the same time, the personal journeys of several younger characters may begin shaping the future of this society. Marion Brooks' development has been one of the most noticeable transformations since the beginning of the series. She arrived in New York uncertain about her place in the world, but every season has strengthened her understanding of how power and influence truly work. In the next chapter, Marion may begin making choices that define her independence rather than simply reacting to the expectations of others. Her relationships, friendships, and ambitions could place her at the center of important decisions that affect both old money traditions and the ambitions of the new elite. Peggy Scott's story could also grow even more significant. As a determined writer building her reputation in a challenging environment, Peggy represents the cultural and intellectual changes happening during the historical Gilded Age. Her work has the potential to expose social realities that many powerful families would prefer to ignore. If her voice becomes more influential, it could place her in situations where truth and reputation collide. Powerful people often dislike being observed too closely, especially by someone capable of sharing those observations with a wider audience. This dynamic alone could create several intense moments throughout the season. Meanwhile, relationships across New York society remain unpredictable. Some alliances may strengthen as families attempt to secure their positions in a changing world. Others could break apart under the pressure of expectations, secrets, and ambition. In a society where marriages are often connected to status and influence, emotional decisions can quickly turn into public drama. All these storylines point toward one important reality. Season 4 could represent a major turning point for many characters. The balance between old traditions and modern ambition has been slowly shifting since the beginning of the series. Now that both sides understand the strength of their rivals, the next stage of the conflict may become far more strategic and far more personal. And that is exactly why the upcoming trailer will be so important. Even a short preview could reveal hints about which rivalries will dominate the next season, which relationships might finally change, and which characters could find themselves caught in the most dangerous power struggles yet. For now, the wait continues. But if the story continues building on the tension, ambition, and social drama that have defined the series so far, Season 4 of The Gilded Age may deliver one of the most dramatic chapters the show has ever seen.